everyone, and welcome to my channel. This is my first video on here. Yay! Okay, so if you don't know me, my name is Marina, and I read a lot of books and I talk a lot about them. So I made a channel where I just talk about the books that I read. If you don't know, I have another channel where I also made book content, but I decided to make this specific channel just so I have a place where I can talk about books freely. But that channel has all my other book videos, so if you end up liking this one, you can always go to that one and check out the other book videos that I've been making for years. As an intro to get to know me on this channel, I'm doing a book tag, specifically a mid-year book freakout tag, because I'm really late to doing this. It's been a really hectic month. The month of June has definitely not been dull. It's July, not too late, hopefully. So I'm just gonna read off all of the questions and notes that I have for this tag, and you guys can get to know what I've been reading. I think this is a good way to get to know me and my reading taste, and get to know what kind of books I would like to read in the future, so that way you guys can give me recommendations. Yeah, let's get started. First question, best book you've read so far in 2023. I have hit kind of the midpoint in my reading goal. My goal is to read 50 books this year. I've so far read 24. Out of those 24 that I have read, I can say that my favorites are, where are the books? Excuse me while I ugly cry. I absolutely love this book. Definitely one of my favorites this year, along with Before I Let Go by Kennedy Ryan. This was my first Kennedy Ryan book, and I will definitely be reading more from her in the future. This book is like ingrained in my mind. I think about these characters, this plot, the storyline. I think about it all every single day. Yeah, definitely one of my favorites. And then 7 Days in June by Tia Williams. Just like with Before I Let Go, I think about these characters all the time. I think about the emotional impact this book had on me. Like, oh, I was in distraught and pain, yet also like happiness. Last book that ended up being one of my favorites of this year, Solitaire by Alice Oseman. Fun fact, I am a Heartstopper fan through and through. I have officially gotten through all of Alice Oseman's books this year, and Solitaire is definitely one of, if not my favorite, out of all of her books. Next question, best sequel you've read so far. To top off the Alice Oseman trend, I say a sequel that I loved was Nick and Charlie. This is a Heartstopper / Solitaire novella. If you guys don't know the plot of Heartstopper, it's about Nick and Charlie and their relationship, and it's a really cute series. If you haven't watched the show, it's on Netflix, go check it out. Solitaire is about Charlie's sister, but after Solitaire, Alice Oseman made this little novella about Nick and Charlie and the ins and outs of their relationship outside of the graphic novel series that they have, and I thought this was really cute. It also made me feel a lot of pain. If you guys don't know, literally the Heartstopper graphic novels for the most part are really just good, great serotonin boosts, like little sprinkles of joy in that series. But this, it's not even that it was sad, it was just like it made me feel more angst from their relationship, which I didn't really know how I was going to feel, because these are my comfort characters. I go to them for happiness, but this novella really just stuck with me, and I thought it was a great sequel. But yeah, I haven't really been reading many series this year, mostly standalone. I don't have any other favorite sequels other than that one for the most part. Okay, so next question, new releases you haven't read yet but want to. If you watch my other book videos on my other channel, I've mentioned that I really want to read Yellowface by R.F. Kuang, along with all the other R.F. Kuang books that I haven't had a chance to get to yet this year, but that's her latest, newest release, and I really want to read it. The premise sounds so interesting and entertaining, and yeah, I will really want to get to it. I want to tick off a few authors this year that I have yet to read their works from. I have read one book by R.F. Kuang this year though, so I have ticked that off, but I want to get through all her other books, and Yellowface is definitely gonna make that list of books that I really want to read this year. Most anticipated release for the second half of the year. Oh, where do I start? I have a few releases that I really am excited for. First being obviously Heartstopper Volume 5. This comes out in I think November. very excited. I was under the impression that it was the last one in the series because that was the word that was going around. But turns out the last one is going to be the 6th volume, which doesn't have a date on it yet. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to the 5th volume of Heartstopper. I can't stress this enough how it's one of my favorite series I've read ever. One of my favorite stories, one of my favorite romances, literally just one of my favorite things to ever exist. I'm also really excited for Joya Goffney's newest release that I think comes out in a week. My Week with Him. Like I said before, I really loved Excuse Me While I Ugly Cry. It's one of my favorite reads of this year, and after that book I've kind of come to the conclusion that I will read whatever Joya Goffney puts out. Whatever it is, I'm gonna read. I have yet to read Confessions from an Alleged Good Girl. I have yet to read that, but don't even worry, it's on my TBR. I'm gonna get to it. And then I also can't wait for Wildfire by Hannah Grace. I absolutely enjoyed Icebreaker. I know that the people that read it either love it or hate it. I'm in the side of people that love it. I loved that book. First time I read it, I literally couldn't put it down. Read it in I think one sitting, and I can't wait to read about the rest of the characters and their books in the series. I have no idea who this book is centered around. I didn't check. I kind of want to go in blind to it. But yeah, I really did enjoy Icebreaker, so I can't wait to read Wildfire. Lastly, another book that I'm really excited for is Their Vicious Games by Joelle Wellington. This book also comes out in July. I think it comes out in late July. I saw the cover for it and I read some of the premise and I was like, okay, I'm gonna eat this up. Not gonna lie though, I probably won't read it when it first comes out. I might save it for October because I like to read thrillers and spooky books during spooky season. So number 5, biggest disappointment. Now I use the word disappointment loosely. For the most part, most of the books that I've read this year I've really enjoyed, but there are a few that are like better than the movies by Lynn Painter. Don't shoot me. I know this is like Book Talk's latest obsession right now. But I personally didn't vibe with it. I liked it. I thought it was okay. It was cute, but I just thought it was kind of mid. I didn't think it was bad. Like I said, it's mid. I think I literally gave it a 3 stars. So mid. A book that I really was disappointed by, that I didn't like at all, Flawless by Elsie Silver. I did not like this book. I read it this previous month in June. So you'll be able to hear me talk about my feelings about this book more in my May and June wrap up that'll come out sometime next week. But yeah, I did not like this book. I did not like this book. I know that this series is very popular, but I probably won't be continuing it. The characters in this book I just really didn't care about. None of the side characters I cared about either. So I highly doubt I'm going to be reading their own books. It's just not something that I enjoyed. Biggest surprise. I read An American Marriage by Tayari Jones. I have never heard of this author, never read anything by them, didn't even hear about this book. I was just walking through a Waterstones one day and I saw the cover and I was like, I need to get this, and I got it and I read it and I absolutely loved it. Had a really good time with this book. It made me feel all of the feelings. If you guys don't know what this book is about, it's about this couple. Obviously, they're living their happy newlywed life until the guy gets wrongfully prosecuted. The couple is Black, by the way. It's a big factor. I don't really know the time period. I'm not gonna lie, I think it's set in like the 80s. I couldn't tell if it was modern time or not. The guy gets wrongfully prosecuted and sent to jail for 10 years. This book follows their relationship while the guy's in jail, but while he's in jail, the girl starts developing feelings and getting into a relationship with her best friend. Yeah, it's really good, really messy, very mature, to be honest. Like, there's not really much in this book that I felt familiar with in terms of romance. Like, you know how there's always like some miscommunication and stuff like that in romances? This one just felt really grown and mature and kind of refreshing compared to everything else I've read. Tayari Jones has a really beautiful writing style. Her pen was penning. Okay, favorite new authors. I guess this doesn't really come as a surprise at all, but again, Joya Goffney, because hello, really enjoyed Excuse Me While I Ugly Cry. And then Before I Let Go by Kennedy Ryan. I seriously can't stress enough how excited I am to get through this woman's books. Before I Let Go left such a mark on me, and I got everyone that I know to read it, and they loved it. And it's kind of just like, I need to read everything that this woman has made. I kind of trust her. Newest fictional crush. Ooh. Not gonna lie, I didn't really have many new fictional crushes this year, but I recently read Delilah Green Doesn't Care, and I gotta say, Delilah, have a little bit of a crush on Delilah throughout the whole entire book. I was just like, oh, this woman, she has riz, she has something, and I see it. I will give more of a detailed review about it in my wrap up, but yeah, I really like Delilah. I think she's very attractive. Newest favorite character, I have to give a shout out to Ren. I absolutely loved Ren. If you guys don't know, Ren is the main character in this book, and she is just so unapologetically a bad bitch, and you kind of have to love her. If you don't love Ren, then I mean, I guess some of it is understandable of why, but I don't know. I support women in all of their rights and all of their wrongs, and Rin does not care whether she's right or wrong. She just does what she wants, and I have to respect her for it. Along with Yasmin from Before I Let Go, I really loved how she wasn't afraid to be vulnerable with her emotions and outspoken about how she feels in terms of like herself and her relationship with not just her partner but with others in her life. Like, it made me reflect on myself and how I approach situations. Like, I loved her character a lot. Quinn from Excuse Me While I Ugly Cry, her situation with like her school life mixed with her family life mixed with her own internal struggle of trying to figure out who she is as a young Black girl resonated, really hit hard, and she has a special place in my heart. Books that made you cry. Radio Silence by Alice Oseman. I cried like a baby. This book is set in the Heartstopper universe as well, but this book focuses on Francis and Alid. Alid is a character that you briefly meet in Heartstopper. He's one of Charlie's friends, but you don't really know much about him. This book is centered around those two and their developing friendship, and it focuses a lot on mental health, such as all of Alice Oseman's books do. She does a really good job of writing about mental health and how important it is and the nuances surrounding the topic of it. But this book in particular really hit hard for me. I did cry while reading this. Another book that made me cry, 7 Days in June by Tia Williams. It just made me cry because all of these characters, not all of them, but the two main characters in this book were really going through a lot, like very troubled lives that they were living, and it was just really hard to read about at some points, and I did get overwhelmed and ended up tearing up a little bit. If you haven't read it, it's about these two people that meet in high school, have a little bit of a 7-day relationship, and then separate due to circumstances and reasons, but then they meet again when they're adults and kind of reconnect, but there's some stuff holding them back, whether it be from childhood or present life. It's a lot, and a lot of the stuff that happened in their past made me very sad and emotional and just not okay up here. And then another book that made me cry was actually a reread. I've been rereading a lot of books that I read a few years ago, because if you guys don't know, I started getting back into reading in like 2021, and I was on my reading grind. I read like almost up to 100 books in 2021. Been in kind of a reading slump for the past year. I've been trying to get back into reading by reading the books that made me get back into reading in the first place. So one of the books is Red, White, and Royal Blue. This book made me cry the first time I read it, and it made me cry again this year when I reread it. I reread it a few weeks ago. It was one of my favorite books a few years ago. I had a feeling I was gonna love it again while we're rereading it. And it did make me cry a second time. Next, a book that made me happy. I recently read the first volume of Miss Marvel, No Normal. I really enjoyed reading this. I've been trying to get back into comics. I read them a lot when I was younger, and then I stopped, and now I want to get back into it because I've been on Across the Spider-Verse brain rot for the past few weeks, so I've been slowly starting to get back into comics. I'm currently reading the Miles Morales comics. I'm having a really great time. The most beautiful book you bought so far this year? Okay, so I haven't been buying many books. I bought a few while I was in the UK studying abroad, but I haven't bought many. I guess honorary mention, excuse me while I ugly cry, I really love this cover. I like the US cover, but this cover, it's really pretty. I don't know if you can even see it because of the light, but yeah, I think that the illustration is more my vibe. I also really love the Honey and Spice cover. I got this recently while I was in Africa. If you guys want to check out that vlog, it's on my channel. I just posted it. But yeah, they had the UK covers in the bookstores over there, so I thought why not just grab it, because I learned that I think I prefer mostly UK covers to US covers, and I got it. And I like the Honey and Spice cover in the US, but not as much as this one. I just, like I said, I think that the vibe matches. I love a good cartoon cover. And then I also really love this cover of the Poppy War. Again, this is the UK cover. I got this one while I was in the UK studying abroad, and then I got this one when I recently went to Africa. And I'm probably gonna have to order the third book in the series online because I don't think I'm gonna be going back over there anytime soon. But yeah, these covers are really pretty. I love them. But yeah, I've kind of been trying to not spend too much money this year, so kind of on a book buying ban. Not really. I was on one for a bit. I was on one for like 2 or 3 months, so I haven't been buying many books this year. Okay, and last question is, what books do you need to read by the end of the year? I don't really need to read anything. Like, I don't need to, but I would really like to read Yellowface. I really want to read. But along with that, I really want to read Babel by R.F. Kuang. I've been wanting to read this for a while since it came out. I know that last year was basically the book of the year. Everyone and their mothers were talking about Babel, and I kind of want to read this before Yellowface, even though I know that they're not like in a series or anything. Like, they're both standalones, but I want to read this one, and then I'll probably get to Yellowface after reading this. And then I also would like to read The Merciless Ones by Namina Forn. I recently reread The Gilded Ones this month because, like I said, I've been on a reread kick, and The Gilded Ones definitely got me out of a 10-year reading slump, and I realized that I never read the sequel for it. I've had the sequel for over a year, and it's just been collecting dust on my bookshelf, and now that I finally reread the first book, I think it's time that I read the sequel. I'm gonna get to this sooner rather than later, just because I feel like reading it now, so yeah. And then I also want to read Sunny Disposition by Deanna Gray. I've been seeing these books around for the past few months, and I think they're hockey romance. I love a good hockey romance, so I'll read it. And plus, Black girl leads, say less. I'm gonna be reading it. I'll pick it up soon. I kind of want to get the physical copy, so I'll probably read it whenever I get the money to get the physical copy. And then lastly, I really want to read The Eye of the World by Robert Jordan. I bought this book like, I want to say over a year ago. This is like the anniversary edition, and it's so pretty, but it's also huge, and it's one of the most intimidating books on my bookshelf, so I haven't picked it up yet. I haven't even opened it up, but I would like to read this year. Because if you guys don't know, The Eye of the World is part of the Wheel of Time series. It's the first book. I really enjoyed the Wheel of Time show, so I got the book hoping that I would read it at some point, and I still have yet to do that, but I want to. I don't know if I'll read it this year, but I really do want to at least start it so I can say that I have started it. But it's just, it looks so intimidating. It's like huge. It's like bigger than my head, I feel like. I love this edition because it's just like, it has the little Wheel of Time symbol, and then it like, look at the map. Yeah, I think this was like a worthy purchase. I just wish that I could crack it open without feeling like I'm going to break a sweat. Yeah, that's my mid-year book freakout tag. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Like I said, all of the books that I've mentioned so far, I've talked about more on my other channel, so if you're interested in my reviews for the books I mentioned, go check them out on my channel. My other channel, it's Marina. No, literally all of my book videos are over there, whether it be reading vlogs, book wrap-ups, what I read in the UK while I was over there, just everything. But now that I have this channel, I'm going to be posting content like that over here. So you can use the videos over there as more of a catch-up, but subscribe to this channel to see more of my reading updates to come. You can also follow me on Twitter. I mostly interact on Twitter if you guys want to give me recommendations. You can also recommend me stuff on Instagram. I interact a lot on Instagram as well. I will see you guys in my next video. Bye everyone.